People are mad at Hasan Piker. Who could have guessed? This time, he called Republicans terrorists, and Brad Plumbus has very words to say about this, and he's going to say them. So let's take a look.
In this country, the biggest terrorist internationally is the Republican Party.
Hasan Piker chastising people for being terrorists. It's just ironic because he has pretty openly and pretty repeatedly expressed support for groups that are pretty widely considered to be terroristic groups. So
those groups being Hamas and Hezbollah, I think, and the Houthis, which, you know, Hezbollah, is that one? Sorry, I'm not good at the groups over there. What I do know is that the groups he claims to support, really, is just that he is against Israel, and those are the resistance groups against Israel. So if it comes down to it, yes, he would support those groups over Israel, and I agree with him for the record.
Guys, up first, we're going to check in with the leftist star Hasan Piker, who is, of course, at the heart of so much controversy as of late involving his role in the Democratic Party and whether the lovely fellow who said that America deserves 9/11,
I remember that,
said a Republican senator should be killed.
Wait, Hasan said that?
Called for the blood of landlords.
Oh, wait, what was the second one?
Senators should be killed.
Oh, no, wait, he didn't say he should be killed. He said, if you care about whatever, kill, what was his name, Scott something? He wasn't literally saying to kill the guy. He was just saying, like, if you care about a specific issue, I can forget the exact context, but he did not literally say to kill the guy. Now, he did say kill your landlord. That is something he said.
And called for the blood of landlords to run through the streets. Yeah, that lovely guy has been campaigning with some Democratic candidates.
And I do not advocate violence against landlords.
And there's been a little bit of a civil war inside the Democratic Party over whether he should be considered
don't like him.
In bounds or out of bounds. And I've discussed this in the past, but now he just did an interview with Pod Save America.
I would cry if a landlord was hurt. I would personally cry and never get over it.
Which is kind of like a establishment progressive Democrat, but not like ultra left, but still solidly progressive show hosted by a bunch of former Obama administration officials. And it's very
pussy advocate for it. I don't advocate for violence. I'm going to start now.
Land. And in this, Hasan doubled down on some of the most radical sentiments that he's expressed and dropped a new one that I hadn't heard before, describing
I do have a job outside of this, guys. I have to, you know, and also, like, I don't, like, why would I say that? Come on.
Republicans, the Republican Party, as the biggest terrorists.
For the record, if you want my serious answer, no, you should not kill landlords, okay? Nor should you kill any political opposition, okay? If you can help it, unless you're defending yourself. Literally, self-defense is the only time I think that you should kill somebody, okay? Like that, I can name very few other times where it's appropriate. There was like one episode of Invincible where Invincible had to kill a guy, and like you could argue that was self-defense. My point is, he was saving the world, basically. It's like the classic conundrum, do you kill one guy to save the rest of the world? But anyway, point is, no, I don't advocate for killing these people. I don't advocate for violence against them. I just wish they would be better.
On a weekly basis in an attempt to aggro God and get him into boss battle mode. Landlord hates me, bruh.
Thank you very much for the $5, Maggles. I appreciate you. I'm joshing. I know you are.
Domestically and
let me be serious.
Because that's just totally normal. Saying rhetoric that will help us calm things down and come together. Yeah, okay. And yet, it's also so incredibly contradictory with his own other things. He also...
By the way, I love that it's called Brad versus everyone, as if everyone is against him. Like, shut the... Like, why do they always do this? They're such victims, right? Everyone is against Brad.
States and believe. So, we're going to go through it all.
Everybody hates
headline
Brad.
from Mediaite. Hasan Piker brands Republican Party, quote, biggest terrorist group on earth.
They did just
Popular
bomb a school.
Socialist streamer Hasan Piker branded the Republican Party the biggest terrorist organization on the planet in an interview with Pod Save America.
I would agree with this, honestly.
Former Barack Obama speechwriter John.
The Republicans pose a far greater threat than any other terrorist group, Middle Eastern or otherwise. Republicans also famously include a lot of the KKK, which themselves are a terrorist group. I believe the Proud Boys, another terrorist group. Like the Republican Party, like, I'm not saying they condone necessarily the KKK, but, you know, Donald Trump told the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. Stand back and stand by, he said to the Proud Boys. Okay? So at the very least, they're in cahoots with the Proud Boys, which are a terrorist group. So yeah, I'd say that, and given everything that they've done, you know, just making life worse for everybody, black bagging people and throwing them into alligator Alcatraz or whatever, alligator Auschwitz, as I like to say. And they sometimes die in there, you know, like 6 of them died, I think, just so far, like in custody, from lack of medication, from horrific conditions, shit like that. Yeah, I would say that calling them the single biggest terrorist organization currently on the planet is not that far of a stretch.
Favreau on Sunday. Piker made the eyebrow-raising comment after
Then
saying
again, they
he
bombed
has
a
been
school
disenchanted
in
with the
Iran.
Democratic Party, how it has been, quote, taking my vote for granted. Favreau said
Plus, they fund Israel. Don't even get me started on that.
he agreed that M's aren't perfect, but compared to the Republicans, they look great. Now, here is the part where Hasan drops this lovely take about, you know, the party that like represents roughly half of
What was
America.
that? Man, spin of a hairball.
You know, the party that like represents roughly half of America.
What
he
was
says are
that?
the worst domestic terrorists and internationally. Let's listen.
I hate Republicans. I oppose them. I say that all the time. I think
Same.
that the Republicans are far more damaging. The biggest terrorists, the biggest domestic terrorists in this country, the biggest terrorist internationally is the Republican Party. And not only that, but it's just like
The fake outrage of it all.
I want to fight against the growing fascist movement in this country. My frustration with the Democrats is their conciliatory attitude towards that, and their lack of investment in this struggle. This
That's a cough up
idea
an owl
that,
pellet.
you know, on the one hand, you say Donald Trump is a dangerous force. I see that. I recognize that. But then you turn around and you take on his anti-immigrant narratives and anti-immigrant messaging from the 2020 election that you won, and decide you're going to be the sincere candidate that ends up, dealing with the growth of migration in this country. It's a failure. If you were serious about being an anti-fascist, if you were serious about combating these forces, you would take it more seriously. You would do everything you can. You wouldn't try to win by your own coalition that you want to build and, like, you know, parade Liz Cheney around and act as...
It was a terrible campaign. It was awful. And I deluded myself into thinking, oh, she's got this. Oh, she's definitely got this. No, in hindsight, now that I'm looking back, I was a fool. I was a fool. Honestly, the fact that I wasted any breath trying to get her elected is ridiculous now that I look back on it. I mean, I would do it again, honestly, because, like, if I had the not, like, I wouldn't do anything any differently, I guess, like, but no, if I had the knowledge I do now, I would do it differently now that I think about it. I would probably just not waste any time on Kamala Harris and just call it, you know, whatever. Like, they ran a terrible campaign and handed the country over to Donald Trump on a silver platter. They should have had him in jail. What I like to ask liberals is, why isn't Donald Trump in prison? Why is he not under the prison for committing an insurrection? Have they ever thought about that? How about you, Brad? I know you watch my content sometimes. Have you ever thought about that? Why isn't he in jail? What happened? I'm just saying. Biden had 4 years to do that.
Though you're going to win with, like, never Trumpers or whatever, you would do everything in your power to talk to people on your left flank.
There's so much
True.
to unpack about what Hasan just said, and it is absolutely bonkers on so many levels. But first, I want to read a couple funny
I thought it made
tweets about
perfect
it.
sense.
Sean Fitzgerald, aka Actual Justice Warrior, wrote on X, if the Republicans were actually a terrorist organization, he'd be endorsing them. And this is, of course, a reference
They're only not terrorists because they're white and in charge of this country.
to the fact that he has said
Remember, the terrorists are brown. That's how you pull out the Peter Griffin color code.
that he supports Hezbollah, a designated terror group. He has simped for Luigi Mangione, a alleged who is currently facing charges for essentially an act of political terrorism,
Who?
allegedly murdering a healthcare CEO.
He
to send
did
a
what?
political
I've never
point.
heard of this.
And
I don't
of
think he did
course-
it.
I mean, of all people, like Hasan Piker chastising people for being terrorists is just ironic because he has pretty openly
Luigi Mangione was chilling at my place that day. There's no way he could have done
and
it.
pretty repeatedly
We were playing
expressed
Zelda.
support for groups that are pretty widely considered to be terroristic groups. So just not exactly the most self-aware person. About what Hasan says here, it is sick and just a total destruction of reality to suggest
Why?
the Republican Party is a terrorist group. What? Just because it
Terrorist group.
lawfully organizes through the democratic process to enact policies you disagree with or think are cruel or bad. That's not what terrorism means, right? They're not targeting
Why not? Wait, why not?
civilians with violence to
Wait, yes, they literally do. They literally do that. What are you talking about? Have you heard of what ICE is doing? No, they literally do. What are you talking about, Brad?
send a political message like the people you cheer for often, Hasan, by the way, the Luigi Mangionis of the world.
Donald Trump's
And
ICE would never do that.
It is so beyond reckless and so incredibly dangerous in this time of political violence, where we've seen multiple assassination attempts against President Trump, where we saw Charlie Kirk be shot and killed, to be
I remember
labeling your opponents. And I would absolutely, and do say in the same
It was
thing
an interesting day.
Republicans or conservatives.
I don't think I worked out that day. They got some chicken for lunch. Yeah,
Or
it's an
President
interesting
Trump
day.
label Democrats traitors or evil or threats to the fabric of America or anything like that. It is beyond dangerous to dehumanize and vilify your political opponents like this, because it creates a permission structure for political violence, especially when you yourself say they should be killed.
Okay, why is it not political violence when the United States does it somewhere that's not the United, or even here? It is. Does Brad Polumbo think that it's political violence for ICE agents to just black bag and throw people into alligator Auschwitz? Is that not political violence? What about bombing a school with 170 children in it, at least? Is that not political violence? What do you mean political violence? Like, the Republicans are doing that. They are. Okay? Hasan Piker is not saying go and punch the nearest Republican in the balls. Okay? He didn't say that. What he said was, if you want to designate a terrorist group, I think the Republicans are a good group to look at. And I agree with him. They're responsible for a lot of death and a lot of suffering. Directly responsible.
I mean, he has said over and over again.
Also worth noting, they have a literal death cult within them, the evangelical Christians, just so you know.
That he thinks a Republican senator should be killed. Like, this is a dangerous person.
He didn't say that.
Demonizing his political opponents in a way that very clearly, I think, increases the chances of people being hurt or even killed in our current moment. And yet he's not treated with adequate, I think, disgust and acknowledgement. Even these Pod Save America dudes who were interviewing Hasan don't seem to get just how breathtakingly radical and disingenuous he is. Also, he doesn't even make sense, because Hasan barely even was clear that whether he was going to vote for Kamala Harris in 2024. He suggested he would vote third party over Gavin Newsom against
Absolutely.
J.D. Vance, which
Same.
is hilarious, because Gavin Newsom...
Not even. I'm staying home. Why bother? Don't bother with a third party vote. If you want to, just fine. But in my philosophy is, don't bother with a third party vote. Just stay home. Just don't. Just, like, why engage in the process? It's clearly not engaging with you, you know? Like, think about it. This is just a natural human response, right? Okay? I don't want Gavin Newsom. I don't think anybody really wants Gavin Newsom. The fact that we are right now dying on the Hill, if you don't vote for Gavin Newsom over J.D. Vance, you're a bad person, is scary, okay? That means that you have no principles. Because Gavin Newsom doesn't. He sucks. He sucks. He's a wet towel. Why would you want that guy? So I stand by. If Gavin Newsom's the nominee, go f*** yourself. I'm not voting. Like, I'm not voting.
is like pretty darn progressive in the spectrum of American politics, but he's still not radical enough for Hasan. And it's like, wait, so you're simultaneously lying and saying that Republicans are...
And of course the transphobe would like Gavin Newsom. No surprise there.
Terrorists. They are a terroristic entity, but you still won't vote for a Democrat nominee over them. Like, it would seem that either that's not true, which it isn't, but if you actually believed that, you wouldn't also be waffling about whether you're even gonna support the alternative. Terrorist group or non-terrorist group doesn't seem like a close call to me.
Okay. I understand where you're coming from, and on the surface that makes sense. At the same time, if the other group is the terrorist, what's the word I want to use? They're like a Trojan horse. The Liberal Party acts like a Trojan horse, okay? Or I should say the Democrat Party acts like a Trojan horse for the Republican Party. Every time. Because the Democrats come in, Obama made a few good changes, and then not very much else. People were getting tired of nothing getting done, and so they switched parties, right? And then Donald Trump was in office because people got tired of nothing getting done. And Donald Trump seemed like he was going to do something. And he did. He made the country a lot worse. So people flip-flopped again and voted for Biden. And they weren't voting in favor of Biden. They were voting against Trump because they knew how bad he was. Biden, again, was a wet towel. All right. And then when he didn't really do that much, people got tired of it. Again, they're tired of nothing happening. People don't like it when nothing happens. Okay. And the liberals, again, have just acted like a Trojan horse for the Republicans because every time they take office, nothing happens. Nothing substantial changes in people's lives. They're not excited. And so Republicans get elected.
If those
Again,
were actually the options. Now, of course, I don't believe that they are, but yet
these people will never be able to cope with the fact that they handed the country over to a fascist. They did this.
acting as if that's still a close call.
Why would I
and
vote
he's
for them
still not
again?
even supporting the Democrats.
Another question I like to ask, what comes after Gavin Newsom? What comes next after Newsom? After a Newsom presidency? Another fascist, a worse one, a more competent one than Trump? No thanks. If it's Newsom, it's already over.
Which is so funny that he says, well, they should appeal to me more and not these never Trump Republicans. Listen, whatever you think of never Trump Republicans, they were voting for the Democrats.
Following.
So it makes sense the Democrats would work with them. They were actually a part of the team. And partisan politics is unfortunately a team sport in some ways. Hasan was just constantly crapping on Democrats and suggesting he wasn't even going to vote for them, or necessarily, he was saying like Kamala Harris's everything would be the same under Kamala or Trump, which is just, no matter who you prefer.
I don't think that was Hasan's exact words. He did say that about Israel. And I can't imagine that Kamala Harris would have been any better on Israel. She never indicated that she would be. Okay, so he had a point.
A ridiculous sentiment. That is absolutely not true. And then he's like, but they don't pander to me enough. I genuinely, he is just...
What is he asking for? What is he asking for? When you say pander to him, what views are you referring to? Which ones? Let's talk about it. Because if I recall, Hasan and I agree on like 90% of shit. So 95 probably. So in all likelihood, I probably agree with Hasan. It's not pandering to Hasan to say like Medicare for all. That's pandering to like the majority of Americans, if you want to be real, which is what you're supposed to do in a presidential election.
Just delusional beyond belief, and yet they are embracing him in lots of these media circles because he's still saying... Also, I find it so funny that he accuses Democrats of accepting like fascism or embracing fascism just because they realize like, hey, we kind of let the border get out of control under Biden. That's his example of how Democrats are like fascist light, that they've realized, or at least pretended to, that the border got out of control under.
Every single time Republicans win, Democrats move to the left, or sorry, to the right. Democrats move to the right. They shift toward where the Republican position because they misunderstand what's happening. Okay? They think, oh, Republicans are winning. These talking points are popular. Therefore, we can't go too far to the right and be exactly like them. But, maybe we can just make immigration like this thing that we're actually against. Everything else is, well, and trans people, but everything else, immigration and trans people and Israel and embracing capitalism. Capitalism's good, guys. Okay. But everything else, we keep the same, right? Yeah. Who's going to vote for you? Why take the diet when you can have the real thing?
Under President Biden, and probably we shouldn't have just had millions of people coming in and doing the catch and release thing through the asylum process that was totally abused. Yeah.
And the wall, by the way.
Just an extremely common sense take some Democrats have come around to about, and he's like, that's proof they're fascist light. I don't understand it. I don't understand the appeal of this guy.
I know you don't.
But, or how anyone thinks that he's actually like an asset to the Democratic Party, because he brings all this baggage and yet doesn't even support their candidates. Like, even after, in the same interview that he called Republicans a terroristic institution, he still would not commit voting for Gavin Newsom over J.D. Vance. Here's a clip from the interview where the Pod Save America dude, he's talking.
Okay, who do you want for president? The guy who's going to kill you, or the guy who's going to let that guy kill you? Which one? The guy is going to say, oh, no, actually, don't kill him with a knife. Do it with a gun. It'll be faster. Which one are you voting for? Like...
To ask him about that. Let's watch.
You said you wouldn't vote for Gavin Newsom against J.D. Vance in 2028.
Yeah.
Correct. Third party.
I mean, I don't even think that's going to be a problem.
Well, but like a lot of people.
I hope so bad. If it's Gavin Newsom, it's over. Start packing your bags. Start preparing for like the worst. Like after a Gavin Newsom presidency, shit's over.
Including people who share a lot
It's
of your
all falling
critiques of
apart.
the Democratic Party hear that and think like this is the problem. You know, when the stakes are concrete, like a Vance presidency, another 4 years of what we're living through. You know, the people who say they're building a movement would, you know, like rather preserve their own power than, you know, do what winning requires and, you know, hold your nose and vote for what you believe would be the lesser of two evils. Like, how do you respond to that?
I want the Democratic Party to treat me like a never Trumper. I want the Democratic Party to treat me like a triple Trump voter, okay? Because it turns out that's all they're tuned into.
True.
So if what it takes for the Democrats to turn around and be like, wait a minute, we're losing this guy, we have to win him over again or whatever, instead of just like taking my vote for granted as they've done so over and over again for the left flank, then, you know, I'm going to say things that may or may not end up
He's so performative with his facial expressions. I'm sorry.
Being true, but it doesn't matter. We're so far out from the election anyway that it's like I'm just saying, look, now is your opportunity to find a good candidate instead. Because
But you see
He does not scream authenticity to me. I don't think Brad is an authentic person.
as we head into these, that like after what we've lived through these last years, the stakes
He's gotta chill
and
a little
the
bit.
stark difference between even a Democrat who you and I might find not up to par, to say the least, versus Vance or whoever the they put up.
of course, I mean, I hate Republicans.
So
Authentic
this
light.
is so fascinating because again, like we showed before, he goes on to say Republicans are literally terrorists, and yet
I'm glad this
still
is
will
almost
not
over. I'm
commit
bored.
to voting against the terrorists. So it's like so obvious that this dude is a fraud. He clearly doesn't believe the things he's saying. He just admitted that it.
I feel like he's getting paid to say this shit. I can't make that accusation for certain, but I feel like somebody is paying him to say this shit.
Doesn't matter if what he's saying about who he'll vote for is true or not.
If he does believe this shit, you're one of the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. I'm just saying.
It doesn't matter whether you openly lie about politics as a political commentator and whether you mislead intentionally your audience as what, some kind of bargain.
I mean, you also do that. What did he say about me on that one thumbnail? He completely lied about what I said. He like put something in quotations for me. Like, oh yeah, children can consent in quotations, which is not something that I've ever said.
Bargaining negotiation.
So he is
tactic
also
so
a
that
liar.
They pander to the left flank more. By the way, I find that hilarious because it's like, how can anybody pretend that Democrats just like constantly pander to the middle and the center when if you look at the last 20 years or even 10 years, right? Compare Hillary Clinton 2016, the Democratic nominee, and the agenda she ran on versus Kamala Harris or the Biden, even the Biden campaign. Everything's moving to the left, to the left, to the left in terms of
Like what?
massive government spending, massive increases in support for like minimum wage hikes and government health care, all this stuff. They're becoming more.
Okay, then why didn't the minimum wage go up under Biden? Why is it not up? It's still like, it didn't go up under Biden, did it? Am I mistaken? Correct me if I'm wrong. I am 90% sure that it did not go up under Biden. I didn't hear about that. And it needs to be at minimum $20 an hour now. Okay? And that's a low ball. All right? There's some weeks that not even I'm like properly set. You know, like I make it work, but at the same time, like I have to work to make it work, you know? And I make pretty good money. I won't say exactly how much, but I make pretty good money. So if you're making $20 an hour, I don't know how the you're doing it already. But below that, I don't know, man.
And more progressive. Bernie Sanders' influence in the party has massively grown and increased, and yet he's like, they're just constantly pandering to never Trump, and they never pander to the left flank.
They are.
He's like, they take me for granted.
Okay, they're not even pandering to their own base anymore because they're still all pro-Israel. Does Brad not realize that? Like all the biggest players in the Democratic Party are still pro-Israel. And the Democratic Party itself has, I think it's close to like, isn't it like significant, like a huge majority of Democrats now are against Israel. Even Republicans now. But like, they just won't give up on that. Why not? They're pandering to their donors and to like the centrists, you know?
Brother, they never even had you. You basically told people
CPAC.
it doesn't matter
Or not
whether to
CPAC,
vote for Kamala or Trump in
What's the one? I can't think of it.
2024, and now you're saying you won't even support their nominees. That's the thing. He keeps saying, I want to be
AIPAC.
courted like a never Trumper. Well, never Trumpers were actually open to voting for the Democrats, whereas you seem to just go scorched earth on them no matter what. But I actually don't really particularly care about that.
No
like,
matter
I'm honestly
what.
not somebody who's particularly invested.
No. Look, okay, you want to talk about who goes scorched earth? Look at Zoran Mamdani. Look at what they tried to do to Zoran Mamdani because he was too far to the left, okay? They ran 2 people against him. Like, they like, nobody endorsed him or nothing. I think Bernie did and AOC did, and that's it. Nobody else endorsed him from the Democrats that I know of. There was one other guy. No establishment Dems endorsed him. Let's just say that.
Invested in the continued electoral success of the Democratic Party. I just find it so insane and so disturbing that the supposedly reasonable progressive media class, like the Pod Save America bros, or like Ezra Klein at the New York Times, who just authored a piece essentially defending Hasan,
I remember that.
don't get how extreme and how radical and how dangerous this person is, even as he demonizes and borderline incites against Republicans, like when he literally says, kill Rick Scott. This is absolutely unhinged stuff, and yet he seems to only be becoming more embraced inside the Democratic Party. And
Good.
That's really, really, really disturbing.
You think he's jealous? It's so self-serving. It's so I hate this shit. Brad versus everyone. I have the crazy opinions that nobody likes, but they're gonna and they're gonna and they're gonna but you know what? I'm gonna say it no how anyway, anyhow, sir, somehow. And I'm just like, shut up. I hate him. I hate him so much. Brad, if you're watching this, sorry. You inspire a taste in my mouth that can only be described as very bitter. You're like the peel of a lemon. I think that's an accurate description. But yeah, so that was Hasan Piker saying a bad, calling the Republicans what they are, using their terminology, mind you. That's why people are so upset, because he called them terrorists, okay? You can call Republicans a lot of shit, but you cannot call them terrorists. They'll get pissy about that because terrorists are the brown people, right? I'm just saying. But yeah, thanks for covering that, Brad. Very entertaining as always. Hi, thanks so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you all know that I love and appreciate everybody in my community, whether you can support me financially or just by liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. It helps way more than you know. That being said, I do want to give a very special thanks to my tier 4 subs, which would be Space Timid and Hot Take Andy. And thanks so much to my monetary subscribers from any of the tiered subs, or anybody who gives me money in any form, including going to my Patreon shop, donating money to me directly. It all helps way more than you know. If you do decide to help me financially, you can get some really cool perks like early access to content, exclusive access to censored videos, also some really cool badges next to your name. Even if you can't afford a monetary subscription, just watching, sharing, and commenting on my content helps way more than you know. Thanks again, and I will see you all in the next video.